infrastructure is the big buzzword in the BRICS countries, but more so on the African continent. Infrastructure projects meant to link up the African economies to encourage inter-Africa trade. One of the key business people involved in this initiative is, of course, the chairman of the Guma Group, Robert Gumede. I spoke with him earlier and spoke to him about the importance of business getting involved in infrastructure on the African continent.
What's significant about this morning is the launch of a infrastructure initiative that will be taking place in Congo in early November, and the President and I felt that it was ideal to launch such an initiative during BRICS, because BRICS really talks to the needs on infrastructure development in the continent. But I must say that Congo itself has already embarked on an infrastructural journey. You'll see it when you land at the international airport, the roads that they've been able to build. And what touches my heart more is that when you land at night, you find people sweeping sand off the streets, so that in the morning when you drive through those streets, you'll never tell that the street was there yesterday. Mm-hmm. That's how well they're looking after that infrastructure.
Now, of course, the big issue is the public and private participation in these developments. Infrastructure costs lots of money. Where is the finance from the private sector going to come to match the political ambition of many of these African leaders?
You know, for us in particular, it's always a challenge in accessing the cash resources. That is where the Chinese are beginning to dominate infrastructure development in the continent, because they bring the cash. The needs are there. That is well known to them. They know that the only thing that unlocks a project is cash. Mm-hmm. And I think the Chinese will continue to dominate us unless, as business, we're able to pull resources together so that we can co-invest in development of projects as Africans. Mm-hmm. But also there's nothing wrong in us working hand in hand with the Chinese and other countries that share the same vision and commitment and patriotism towards the African continent, because we cannot expect huge economic growth if it's still a challenge to travel between Congo Brazzaville and DRC Kinshasa, which is separated by a river. Mm-hmm. For all these years, all they need to do is to build a 2-kilometer bridge that will link the two economies. And it's only now that the feasibility study has been finalized, and it's only now that we can go out in the market and try to source funding to construct a very, very important link between countries. Because one of our challenges is its linkages between our countries, let alone countries, but within states as well, where you find it's very, very difficult to move from one end of a country to the other.
Mm-hmm. Now, the President, of course, serves on NEPAD's Infrastructure Committee together with President Jacob Zuma. Take us through how the developments in Central Africa, particularly in Congo-Brazzaville, is going to facilitate infrastructure in the whole of the continent.
Yes, not only is President Zuma part of that, he's chairing this body made up of 10 heads of states. I think because of the location of the Congo-Brazzaville, you need to make sure that you can link Congo-Brazzaville together with the DRC Congo, then you can link it together with Gabon, Central Africa Republic, and that is where we see a big growth. And we all know that Africa still needs to be able to be connected, and it's through infrastructure development, roads infrastructure, river infrastructure, because our rivers, unlike in Europe, are being used as a feeder of they are an economic belt, and we are not yet utilizing that. And I think this is some of the things that we'll be able to do.
Final question, Mr. Gumede. You are chair of the Guma Group of companies. Take us through your involvement in this project. What is your company going to be looking at in terms of the infrastructure rollout in Congo-Brazzaville?
We are already Karima, investing over $100 million building a shopping center in the Congo. in Brazzaville, and we're hoping to move over to Point Neo because we came in and there is no shopping center, major shopping center. So most of the goods are still being brought from Europe, primarily in France, and yet we're on the doorstep and we can be able to get retailers from South Africa that can go and operate. We can also bring in healthcare companies into the Congo. We can also unleash the tourism potential of the country. They still have gorillas, they've got big forestation that we can really begin to work with them. And we know that whilst they have forestation, there is no beneficiation. Every log that it gets cut, it gets exported.
And of course the big issue is to do the value add.
Is to do the value add, and those are the things that are dear to me. Those are the things that I believe will be able to create sustainable jobs and also open doors for small, medium enterprises, because as you know that the engine of any economy is driven by small business.
That was Robert Gumede, the chairman of the Guma Group of companies.